Welcome to Cambodia, home of hot season and rice, ancient Hindu temples, thousands of Buddhas, and the blight on humanity called human trafficking. Fireworks for Freedom is about human trafficking, but really it's about freedom. It's about celebrating freedom by giving it. We're asking you to think about celebrating freedom this 4th of July by giving it to girls trapped in human trafficking. The purpose of Fireworks for Freedom is to raise up prayers and support for Cambodia, specifically for the Rapha House. The Rapha House is a Christ-centered ministry that operates here in Cambodia to the least of these. Cambodia is a broken country with hurting people, and the Rapha House ministers to the most broken and the most hurting of this culture, that is the girls who have been abused through human trafficking. I'm not on staff at Rapha House. I don't get any money from Rapha House. I'm just a missionary who lives here in Cambodia with a passion for these people, a passion for the church rising up here in this country. And I love what Rapha House is doing. I am a dreamer, and I dream of what could happen if hundreds or thousands of people in the U.S. chose to release some of their money around the 4th of July and give it to ministry like the Rapha House, the ministry that is on the ground here in Cambodia serving the least of these. Why? Frankly, this is our highest calling, to love people with all of our hearts, to love Jesus above all. Cambodia is a hurting place. We want to love people here, we want to serve people here with both hands, and Rapha House does that. On the one hand, we want to preach the gospel. We want to share Jesus and invite this country to follow Jesus, whatever the cost. On the other hand, we want to show love, very real, very actionable love. That's what I'm asking you to consider. 3 actions. Number 1, prayer. Prayer for those trapped in sin. A lot of times we pray for people who are trapped in sin, but usually we don't pray for people who are trapped in other people's sin, like the girls caught up in human trafficking. They're trapped in other people's sin. I'm asking you to pray for the workers, that is the social workers, the counselors who work with these girls. I didn't know that, so we showed up here. Many of those counselors need counselors themselves to deal with their secondhand trauma that they get just from hearing the stories coming from these girls. It's terrible. Pray for your missionaries in Cambodia. The gospel of Jesus Christ is the only thing strong enough to cut this sin down, pull it out from the roots. We pray that it will happen. I ask you to pray for missionaries in Cambodia who are spreading the gospel with both hands. The second action we're looking for is just giving. I talked with Rapha House. They're okay with us sending them money. Fireworks for Freedom doesn't get any money. It's to the Rapha House. You can go to freedomforgirls.com or fireworksforfreedom.com. I checked, and they accept checks and credit cards, and they probably would accept cash if you showed up on their doorstep in Joplin. So the first thing is pray. Second action is give. The third action is show up. God doesn't call everybody to cross-cultural work, cross-cultural service, but He does call some. If He's calling you to Cambodia, whether you're a doctor or a nurse or a pastor, a mother, a businessman, someone who wants to be a friend, you should come. You should show up. May we never be content with just celebrating our freedom. I ask you this 4th of July to not forget those living without freedom, trapped in other people's sin. May we be so consumed with a love for Christ and a love for people that we'll never forget other people. We will be willing to release some of our own money, maybe some of our own security, maybe some of our own plans to follow Him wherever He leads and whatever the cost. This 4th of July, I hope that means we decide through whatever means. Maybe your church has a big party and you give money to the Rapha House. Maybe you show a movie to raise awareness about human trafficking. Maybe your family decides to go to a big fireworks show instead of spending your own money, and instead you give that money to Rapha House. I don't know. Be creative. Last year, some girls at a church here in Kansas City, not here in Kansas City, there in Kansas City, they made lots of bracelets and they sold them at their church, and they raised lots of money for the Rafa House. I don't know, but I know that God is calling us to something higher, something where we are totally consumed with the love for Him. It is my prayer that the Spirit of God will reign here in Cambodia, that the kingdom of Cambodia will become the kingdom of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Thank you for listening. Visit fireworksforfreedom.com or the Rafa House website, which is freedomforgirls.com. Happy 4th of July.